Dinar shift, the moment you have been following, the development we have tracked for years, appears to be nearing a visible conclusion. The silent preparations that have dominated the financial landscape of Iraq are seemingly reaching a crescendo, suggesting a significant turning point in the currency's status. For a dedicated audience that has watched this narrative unfold, the subtle yet profound indications emerging from global exchange systems and specialized financial centers cannot be ignored. These signs point toward the activation of infrastructure that has long been dormant, raising the crucial question: are we truly witnessing the final stages of a comprehensive financial recalibration, possibly on a global scale? The atmosphere is charged with anticipation, and understanding the precise mechanics of what is taking place is paramount to grasping its ultimate impact. The core of the current discussion revolves around two key observable phenomena: the live visibility of the Iraqi Dinar IQD on multiple international rate screens and the reported operational readiness of dedicated currency exchange centers. This dual development moves the conversation beyond mere speculation and into the realm of concrete financial actions. When a currency, previously characterized by a controlled and largely internal valuation, suddenly begins to appear on the digital interfaces used for cross-border banking and foreign exchange settlements, it signals a fundamental systemic shift. It implies that the technical infrastructure required for the dinar to be traded and settled internationally is being activated, transforming it from a peripheral asset into an actively quoted instrument. This is the first critical piece of evidence suggesting a substantial change in the dinar's global standing. The appearance of live rate visibility is not a superficial event, it is an indicator of deep, structural connectivity within the global financial architecture. This means that the back-end platforms essential for international finance, such as the foreign exchange ledgers, the intricate interbank settlement systems, and the global payment rails, are now configured to recognize and process the Iraqi dinar as a functional component. For these complex, interconnected networks to incorporate the IQD in this manner, extensive technical preparations, testing, and compliance checks must have been completed. This activation phase suggests that the internal foundational work, which operates largely outside the public eye, has moved beyond the theoretical planning stage. The systems are now, quite literally, communicating the dinar's value to the world's major financial institutions. Accompanying this technical activation is the tangible evidence of specialized exchange centers reportedly coming online. These are not the typical everyday retail bank branches designed for routine transactions. Instead, these facilities are specialized hubs, often operating with a distinct mandate to handle large-scale currency redemption and high-value exchanges. Their reported readiness includes completed staff training, verified anti-counterfeit protocols, enhanced security measures, and the establishment of private, dedicated rooms for transactions. The effort and expense required to establish such sophisticated mechanisms signify a nation's preparedness for a major currency event, involving significant movement and processing volumes. This infrastructural readiness, when paired with the digital rate visibility, creates a compelling picture of a system poised for launch. To fully appreciate the significance of this moment, we must consider the extensive journey of reform undertaken by the nation of Iraq. Currency revaluation is not an isolated flick of a switch, it is the culmination of years of deliberate effort to overhaul the country's monetary system. The steps involved include upgrading digital banking platforms, implementing stringent anti-money laundering (AML) and counter-terrorist financing (CTF) frameworks, and achieving greater transparency to align with international regulatory requirements. These are the preconditions demanded by global financial institutions and clearing networks. The fact that the current reports suggest both rate visibility and exchange center readiness implies that the Central Bank of Iraq has successfully navigated, or is in the final stages of navigating, this complex gauntlet of compliance and modernization. The phrase, global reset, though often used with broad strokes, takes on a specific technical meaning in this context. It refers to a recalibration of existing financial relationships and currency valuations within the world order. For the Iraqi dinar, its current reported progress suggests a transition from being a tightly controlled, domestically focused currency to one integrated into the mainstream of tradable global assets. This technical validation, live rates and operational centers, is a far more concrete development than the vague hopes and speculative rumors that have dominated the narrative for years. It speaks to a systemic shift where old frameworks are being updated to reflect new financial realities and global economic partnerships. Within this framework of systemic change, the meaning of rate visibility for the everyday user is profound. It serves as an undeniable signal that international bank systems, the very platforms used for cross-border payments and high-level settlements, are treating the dinar as a live, functional currency. This hints at the deep integration of the dinar into back-end systems that manage international settlements and foreign exchange. It is a technical acknowledgement that the currency is no longer on the sidelines, but is actively quoted and processed. This shift from not available to quoted within the internal banking world is a powerful, non-speculative indicator of forthcoming change and the completion of vital preparations. The specialized exchange centers are critical components of the physical infrastructure designed to manage the practical realities of a currency transition. Their operational status points toward a readiness to handle not just everyday transactions but the high-volume, high-value exchanges that would accompany a major currency event. These facilities are often separate from traditional commercial banking to ensure security, efficiency, and compliance for the initial surge of activity. The reports of completed staff training and fully tested systems confirm that the physical network is mobilized and ready to execute the logistical challenges of a significant currency movement. Their existence and readiness are a structural commitment to change. The impetus behind this cascade of activity is multifaceted, combining internal national objectives with external global pressures. Internally, the drive comes from the need for the Central Bank of Iraq to modernize its monetary system, enhance its digital platforms, and achieve full compliance with international anti-money laundering standards to protect its financial integrity. Externally, the motivation stems from global financial bodies, major banks, and clearing networks that require transparency, connectivity, and rigorous adherence to international standards before fully integrating a national currency. The current reporting suggests that the Iraqi financial system has met many of these rigorous preconditions, opening the global doors that were previously closed or restricted. The essential question for all observers, particularly those who have held the Iraqi dinar for a long period, is what comes next? The visible signs, rate visibility, and center activation suggest that the system is on the threshold of a major advancement. However, it is crucial to maintain a clear perspective that visibility does not equate to immediate, universal public exchange. There remains a necessary sequence of final steps: public announcements, official notifications, and the structured rollout of exchange mechanisms. The indications point to an imminent forward movement, but the process must still adhere to a methodical, carefully managed implementation plan to manage liquidity and maintain stability. Behind the scenes, the mechanics of this rollout involve a defined process. It begins with the central bank finalizing its digital currency ledger and ensuring the currency's connection to global settlement networks. Subsequently, the domestic exchange infrastructure and financial institutions must officially transition to live status. The fourth step is the rate visibility appearing in the internal systems of banks worldwide. Only then can the final step, public release, be initiated. The reports indicating that the first four of these technical and infrastructural steps are occurring in parallel suggest an advanced stage of preparation, placing the system on the verge of the final, public-facing action. The narrative of a broader global currency recalibration gains credence from parallel reports suggesting similar preparatory mechanics are underway with other currencies such as the Vietnamese dong. If multiple smaller, historically controlled currencies are being primed for significant activation concurrently, it signals more than just an isolated national event. It suggests a wider systemic reform across the global currency landscape. While the immediate focus remains on the Iraqi dinar, this wider context is essential, as the resetting of multiple currencies could lead to a significant realignment of international investment flows and the fundamental structure of global finance. For those who have committed to the long-term vision of a revalued dinar, the current developments offer a sense of vindication for their extended patience. These tangible signs move beyond the intangible hope of a theoretical event. However, this moment is not just one of rising excitement, it is also a time that demands caution and discipline. Large-scale financial transitions invariably attract the risk of misinformation, scams, and false starts. Therefore, it is critical to observe the developments, verify information only through trusted official channels, and maintain a grounded, disciplined approach amidst the building excitement. In this current phase, the immediate action for dinar holders should be one of measured organization and preparation, not rushed reaction. It is wise to refrain from calling local banks expecting an immediate exchange, as public notification and full institutional awareness may still be days or weeks away. Instead, holders are advised to get their affairs in order, secure their notes, meticulously document serial numbers and dates of acquisition, and ensure all proof of purchase or ownership is readily available. Furthermore, mental preparation for the next stage is key. Having a clear, thought-out plan for what comes after the conversion, whether it involves investment, savings, or other uses, is paramount. A deeper examination of what the internal rate screens reveal confirms a system that is fundamentally live. When major bank foreign exchange engines update their protocols to quote the IQD as an active foreign currency, rather than being listed as not available, it represents a powerful technical endorsement. This is further corroborated by reports of internal memos being circulated within banks in major financial centers like the US and Europe, instructing staff to prepare for high-volume redemption activity. These are not routine signals, they are significant internal indicators that substantial operational change is in motion across the global banking sector. The involvement of major international banking institutions is another layer of critical groundwork. Reports suggesting that large U.S. banks, such as J.P. Morgan Chase & Co., Wells Fargo, and Bank of America have participated in simulations or testing with Iraq's banking system are highly significant. The global clearing network is intensely interconnected, and the integration of a currency like the dinar requires these big league banks to complete comprehensive testing of settlement protocols and compliance verifications. The reports that this essential groundwork has been completed suggest that the critical infrastructure for Go Live is in place and technically ready to commence operations. Simultaneously, the domestic side within Iraq is sending clear signals of readiness. The Central Bank of Iraqi has reportedly made significant upgrades to its digital platforms and anti-money laundering frameworks. specific technical reforms, such as the removal of certain internal zeros from accounting and some characterizations and a commitment to aligning with global standards, highlight years of infrastructure build reaching its final stages. When these meticulous, long-term internal reforms are combined with the external reports of rate visibility, it elevates the credibility of the current moment, marking it as the final mile of a massive, multi-year financial infrastructure project. The term global reset, when applied here, speaks to a phase where old currency relationships and valuations are being actively recalibrated. For long-term holders of the Iraqi dinar, the visible activation of the system may represent the transition of their asset from a peripheral status to being integrated into the financial mainstream. While this does not validate every rumor ever circulated, the mechanics currently being observed, live rates, operational exchange centers, and major bank preparations, are far more tangible and reliable indicators than past speculation, providing a concrete framework for the current excitement. However, a pragmatic perspective on the timeline remains essential. Despite the strong signs, the public exchange may not be immediate or universally available all at once. It is common for countries to implement a layered rollout strategy to manage security, liquidity, and compliance effectively. This may involve initial phases targeting institutional redeemers and large value holders, followed by accredited investors and eventually full retail public availability. Therefore, the current moment should be viewed as the beginning of the activation process, not the final conclusion, meaning observers should remain prepared for possible announcements, additional phases, or minor delays in the coming days or weeks. Another vital distinction to maintain is the difference between system visibility and market value. The fact that internal rate screens are quoting the dinar does not automatically translate into a soaring public market value overnight. Exchange rates often appear in internal systems ahead of mass public availability and full-scale access. Holders should prioritize monitoring official public statements, regulatory releases, and formal announcements from the CBI or other relevant bodies. Overeagerness based on speculation rather than verified fact remains a risk that can lead to misunderstandings or disappointment. Patience continues to be a crucial tool in this phase. For those holding physical IQD notes in anticipation of a revaluation event, this is the moment where vigilance is paramount. Beyond securing their notes and ensuring they have every required piece of documentation, the current environment demands an active but risk-aware strategy. This includes consulting with trusted, certified financial professionals, relying exclusively on reliable news sources, and most importantly, resisting the temptation of hype or offers that seem too good to be true. The risk of fraudulent schemes inevitably rises during major financial transitions, making disciplined caution a fundamental necessity for all stakeholders. Furthermore, for speculative investors and market followers, this juncture opens a significant new chapter. A currency that has been largely controlled and sidelined is now demonstrating signs of becoming an active, tradable instrument. This shift has the potential to spur significant interest, trading volumes, and speculative flows. However, it is a crucial reminder that currency markets are inherently volatile, especially when an instrument moves from a controlled state to a tradable one. Maintaining strict risk discipline and understanding the mechanics of volume, liquidity, and settlement is essential to navigate this potentially transformative period safely and factually. The importance of a subsequent public announcement cannot be overstated. When the Central Bank of Iraq or another official government body formally confirms a change, that official statement will mark the clear transition from internal infrastructure readiness to active public participation. Such an announcement would logically trigger widespread media coverage, official bank memos to clients, and mass notification. The appearance of official press releases, regulatory filings, and formal statements from major international banks will serve as the definitive signal that planning for the next phase should move into the highest gear, marking the official commencement of the change. Finally, the Iraqi dinar story must be viewed within the broader global economic context of convergence. Issues like inflation, global debt, the rise of digital currencies, and central bank reforms are all converging, suggesting a fundamental shift in how the world's financial plumbing operates. Many expert analysts believe that previously isolated or smaller currencies are now being actively integrated into broader, more inclusive global financial architectures and interbank networks. The Iraqi dinar, through its rigorous reform process and reported current activation, appears to be a definitive part of this multi-nation recalibration that is fundamentally reshaping the global financial order. In summary, we find ourselves at a critical inflection point. The converging evidence of live rate visibility and the operational readiness of specialized exchange centers for the Iraqi dinar indicates that the long-anticipated silent machinery is nearing public reality. The idea of a major currency event, long relegated to the fringes of hope and rumor, now has tangible structural indicators behind it. Whether you have been a long-term holder, a keen observer of global financial shifts, or simply a student of economic reform, you are witnessing a potentially historic chapter in a much larger, global story. The core guidance remains: stay ready, remain wise, meticulously verify every fact, and ensure your personal financial position is organized and secure. Thank you for staying connected to Dinar Shift for these vital factual updates.